Hi guys, for this video ang pag-uusapan naman natin is all about cubic splines. So sige, simulan na natin yung discussion ngayon. For the cubic splines, a cubic spline is a type of spline interpolation where every curve connecting two consecutive points is a cubic function. For data with n plus 1 pairs of points, n splines function are needed. So, yung ating mga cubic splines na ay ito na. So, katulad lang siya kanina kay quadratic splines, only that naka third degree na yung kada function. So, halimbawa, for x sub o to x sub 1, y is equal to a sub 1x cubed plus b sub 1x squared plus c sub 1x and plus d sub 1. For the second interval, y is equal to a sub 2x cubed plus b sub 2x squared plus c sub 2x plus d sub 2. So on so forth hanggang sa last interval, y is equal to a sub nx cubed plus b sub nx squared plus c sub nx plus d sub n. So in this case, for every interval, may apat na unknown tayo, a, b, c, and d. Kaya, according dito, there are 4 unknown coefficients in every cubic spline. So, that is A, B, C, and D. Thus, there is a need for 4n linear equation to solve for this unknown. So, kung sa quadratic, 3n lang. So, kung ang n natin is 3, 9 equation na yung unknown. Ngayon, kung same na function pa rin o yung same na example lang sasagutan natin, so, mangangailangan na tayo ng 12 na equation. So, yun. Paano natin madederive yung 12 points na yon? So, yung unang rule is all given points are part of the spline function. Actually, katulad lang siya kay quadratic spline. Yung i-equate natin yung given na mga points natin. And in this procedure, makaka-create tayo ng 2n linear equations na madederive sa step na to. The next step is the first derivative of two splines sharing an intermediate points are equal. So, there is a total of n minus 1 equation derived on this step. The third step is yung second derivative of two splines sharing an intermediate point din daw is equal. Kaya makaka-create din dito ng n minus 1 linear equations. And lastly, the second derivative of the first and last spline is assumed to be 0. So, ang madederive natin dito is dalawang linear function. So, i-check nga natin, no? Sa unang step, magkakaroon ng 2n. Sa second step, that is n minus 1. Sa third step, that is n minus 1. And sa last step is 2. So, therefore, negative 1 minus 1 plus 2 is 0. 2n plus n is 4n. So, tama naman, ang madederive natin ay 4n linear equations. May explain natin isa-isa itong apat na steps kapag i-discuss na natin yung example provided para dito. So, speaking of example, sige, simulan na natin yung i-discuss. For this example, determine the value of f of 7 for a given set of data below using cubic spline interpolation. Okay? So, ang gagamitin natin is cubic spline interpolation. So, para malinaw, uulitin ko, katulad nung nasabi ko sa quadratic spline, dapat yung value ng x must be arranged in increasing order. Okay? So, dapat malinaw yon. So, ito, tawagin natin to, sabihin na natin na x sub o, x sub 1, x sub 2, and x sub 3. Ito naman is f of x sub o, which is y sub o, f of x sub 1, which is y sub 1, f of x sub 2, which is y sub 2, and f of x sub 3, which is y sub 3. Okay? So, ito yung points natin. And therefore, mangangailangan tayo dito ulit ng 3 cubic splines kasi, diba, cubic splines kasi nga ang given natin ay 4 na points. So, 4 minus 1 is 3. So, sige, ito yung illustration ng points natin. Ito yung given. Tapos, as I said, meron tayong unang spline. So, this is f1x and ito naman is f2x. Tapos, ito naman is yung f3x. So, yung f1x natin, since cubic spline tayo dito, ay equal sa, syempre, that is a sub 1, a sub 1 x cube plus b sub 1 x squared plus c sub 1 x plus d sub 1. And yung interval niya, 'di ba, magsisimula sa 1 and matatapos sa 5. So yung x natin is from 1 to 5. Okay? Yung ating second na cubic spline, yung f sub 2x is equal to, copy mo lang yan, a sub 2x cube plus b sub 2x squared plus c sub 2x plus d sub 2. And in this case, yung interval na i-consider natin ngayon is from 5 to 8. Tama ba? Yes, that is from 5 to 8. So, 5 to 8. For the last spline, itong f3x natin, so yung f3x is equal to a sub 3 x cube plus b sub 3 x squared plus c sub 3x plus d sub 3, and yung interval natin dito is from 8 to 10, 'di ba? Kasi ito yung 8 natin and yung 10. So ayan siya. So na-establish na natin yung format nung tatlong spline functions natin. Ang concern na lang naman natin is i-derive yung values ni A1 to D3. So yung 12 na yan, and as I said, since we have 12 unknowns, we need 12 linear system. So, simulan natin yung pag-derive nun. So, as I said kanina, the given has 4 set of points. Thus, there is a need of 3 cubic functions to perform interpolation. So, these functions are, yung kasusulat ko pa lang. So, from 1 to 5, from 5 to 8, and from 8 to 10. So, pare-parehas lang yan ng muka. Huwag kayong malilito dito. So, the system has 12 number of unknowns, kaya nga kasi for every function, 4 agad ang unknown. So, thus, there is a need of 12 linear equations to solve these unknowns. So, simulan natin yung derivation sa unang step. Yung unang step, di ba, is all given points are part of the spline function. And according to the rule, makaka-derive tayo dito ng 6 na linear equation. So, katulad lang naman ito class noong quadratic spline. So, kumbaga, ikakopy lang naman natin. So, dito, for f1x is equal to a sub 1x cube plus b sub 1x squared plus c sub 1x plus d sub 1. Kasi, di ba itong nakalagay, the point 112 is only part of the first cubic spline only. So, if we are going back to the given graph, itong 112 kasi this is the endpoint of our interpolation. Yung first spline lang yung nakakonekta sa kanya. So, in that case, ito yung madederive natin. Okay? So, ito siya. Pag sinubstitute nyo yung 1, kasi di ba automatic ang 1 is yung x and 12 is yung f of x, kaya 12 is equal to a sub 1 times 1 cube plus b sub 1 times 1 squared plus c sub 1 times 1 plus d sub 1. So, ang madederive natin na equation 1 is a sub 1 plus b sub 1 plus c sub 1 plus d sub 1 is equal to 12. So, if you are going back to the same figure kanina, yung 5 negative 26 is part of the first and second cubic spline. Kaya itong una, itong equation 2 is derived from f sub 1x is equal to a sub 1x cube plus b sub 1x squared plus c sub 1x plus d sub 1. While itong pangalawa, derived na to sa pangalawang spline natin, which is a sub 2x cube plus b sub 2x squared plus c sub 2x plus d sub 2. So, katulad ulit nung nasabi ko sa quadratic spline, i-expect mo na itong dalawa is magkamuka. By the way, simple lang naman yan. Ito yung x and ito yung f of x natin. So, therefore, negative 26 is a sub 1 times 5 cube plus b sub 1 times 5 squared plus c sub 1 times 5 plus d sub 1. So, if you are going to simplify this further, ang kalalabasan is 125 a sub 1 plus 25 b sub 1 plus 5 c sub 1 plus d sub 1 equals negative 26. To do the same for the second spline, again, magkamukha lang yan, only that yung mga subscript ay nakatuna. So, magiging 125a sub 2 plus 25b sub 2 plus c sub 2, 5c sub 2 plus d sub 2 equals negative 26. Okay, so nakatatlo na tayo. For the third point, which is yung point 8, negative 14, that is the part of the second and third cubic spline. Kasi 'di ba, if you are going to see the graph na pinakita ko, part siya o yung nakakonect doon is yung second spline and yung third spline. Kaya itong unang equation, which is itong equation 4, is na-derive to using the second spline. So f2x is equal to a sub 2x cubed plus b sub 2x squared plus c sub 2x plus d sub 2. Well, of course, ito na yung x and f of x. So, substitute nyo siya. Negative 14 equals a sub 2 times 8 cube plus b sub 2 times 8 squared plus c sub 2 times 8 plus d sub 2. So, ang lalabas is 512 a sub 2 plus 64 b sub 2 plus 8c sub 2 plus d sub 2 equals negative 14. So, yan na ang ating equation number 4. Next is for the third cubic spline. So, 'di ba na-derive ito using this function a sub 3x cubed plus b sub 3x squared plus c sub 3x plus d sub 3. So, yun lang. As I said, dapat magkamukha na to, equation 4 and equation 5. Only that, yung subscript ang maiiba. Kaya dito ang kalalabasan is 512 a sub 3 plus 64 b sub 3 plus 8c sub 3 plus d sub 3 equals negative 14. Nakalimang equation na tayo for this step and ang rule natin is dapat nga maka-anim tayo kasi yun yung ina-expect natin. So, therefore, dito tayo sa last point which is yung 1037 and that point daw is just part of the third spline only. Kaya, itong ating huling equation is derived lang using the third spline. So, f of 3x is equal to a sub 3x cubed plus b sub 3x squared plus c sub 3x plus d sub 3. So, of course, yung x is 10, yung f of x is 37. So, that is 37 equals a sub 3 ng 10 cube plus b sub 3 ng 10 squared plus c sub 3 ng 10 plus d sub 3. So, our sixth equation is 1000a cube plus a sub 3, sorry, plus 100b sub 3 plus 10c sub 3 plus d sub 3 equals 37. So, ito na yung ating sixth equation. And dahil nakaderive na nga tayo ng anim na equation, ibig sabihin, pwede na tayong mag-proceed sa step 2. Okay? Kasi nga, 'di ba, yung step 2 natin is yung first derivative of two splines sharing an intermediate point are equal. So, we are going to derive two equations here. So, the first derivative of the splines are, so, dito, i-flash ko na lahat. All you need to do is to take the derivative, diba? So, ito yung first spline, ito yung second spline, and ito yung third spline. And actually, kung titingnan nyo sila, magkakamukha lang naman yan. So, the derivative of the first spline is 3a sub 1x squared plus 2b sub 1x plus c sub 1. The first derivative of the second spline is 3a sub 2x squared plus 2b sub 2x and plus c sub 2. And the first derivative of the third spline is 3a sub 3x squared plus 2b sub 3x and plus c sub 3. So, sabi doon, yung dalawang splines na nag-share sa mga intermediate points are equal. So, if we are going back to the graph, diba, ito yung 5, negative 26, and ito yung 8, negative 14. Tama ba yung given ko? Check ko lang siya, Yes, tama. So, therefore, for the first intermediate point, ito yung f1x natin, ito yung f2x natin, and ito yung f3x. So, yung unang equation is i-consider natin yung unang intermediate point. So, i-equate natin yung first derivative ni first spline saka ni second spline. So, ito siya ngayon. So, the first interior point is 5, negative 26, and the first and second cubic spline are connected to it. Equating the first derivative of this cubic spline and substituting x equals 5 kasi syempre this is x and f of x. So, ang lalabas, ito yung derivative ng unang spline and ito naman yung derivative ni second spline. all you need to do is transpose mo lang itong lahat ng nasa kanan papunta sa kaliwa. So, magiging negative siya. So, 3a sub 1x squared plus 2b sub 1x plus c sub 1 minus 3a sub 2x squared minus 2b sub 2x minus c sub 2 equals 0. And once na na-establish nyo na to, all you need to do is to substitute x equals 5. So, 3a sub 1 times 5 squared plus 2b sub 1 times 5 plus c sub 1 minus 3a sub 2 5 squared minus 2b sub 2 times 5 minus c sub 2 equals 0. To further simplify, ang magiging equation number 7 na natin is 75a sub 1 plus 10b sub 1 plus c sub 1 minus 75a sub 2 minus 10b sub 2 minus c sub 2 equals 0. So, this is our equation 7. Kailangan pa natin ng isang equation kasi nga for the step 2, dapat makaderive tayo ng dalawa. So, the other interior point is 8, negative 14 and the second and third cubic splines are connected to it. Equating the first derivative of these splines and substituting x is equal to 8. So, di ba, ito yung first derivative ng second spline and ito yung first derivative ng third spline. So, ganun din, i-copy mo lang yung kanina. Pag transpose mo, makakalipat sila. So, that will be 3a sub 2x squared plus 2b sub 2x plus c sub 2 minus 3a sub 3x squared minus 2b sub 3x minus c sub 3 is equal to 0. Just substitute x is equal to 8 kasi nga, syempre, yung interior point natin. So, this is x, f of x. So, x is 8. 3a sub 2 of 8 squared plus 2b sub 2 of 8 plus c sub 2 minus 3a sub 3 ng 8 squared minus 2b sub 3 ng 8 minus c sub 3 is equal to 0. And kapag pinerform mo yung product nito, mahahanap mo na yung equation 8, which is 192a sub 2 plus 16b sub 2 plus c sub 2 minus 192a sub 3 minus 16b sub 3 minus c sub 3 is equal to 0. So, ayan. Meron na tayong equation 7 and equation 8. So, nakadalawa tayo sa step 2, which is yun naman talaga ang ine-expect natin. For the third step, ang according dito, the second derivative. So, kung sa step 2 class, yung first derivative sa intermediate point are equal. For the step 3, yung second derivative naman daw nung two splines sharing an intermediate point ang equal. So, in that case, makakaderive din ulit tayo ng dalawang equation simply because may dalawa tayong intermediate points. So, the second derivative of the splines are as shown naman. So, kumbaga, kanina, nakuha mo na yung first derivative sa step 2. So, by simple concept of calculus, the second derivative is just the derivative of the first derivative. So, i-take mo ulit yung derivative nito. Ang mahahanap mo is 6a sub 1x plus 2b sub 1. For the second cubic spline, that is 6a sub 2x plus 2b sub 2. And for the third spline, that is 6a sub 3x plus 2b sub 3. So, ito na po yung ating mga second derivatives. And sabi dito, equal daw yung second derivative ng dalawang splines na nag-share ng mga intermediate points. So, the first interior point is 5, negative 26, and the first and second cubic splines are connected to it. Equating the second derivative of these splines and substituting x is equal to 5. So, yun na nga, the second derivative of the first spline is equal to the second derivative of the second spline. And simple algebra, just transpose these terms to the left. So, that will be 6a sub 1x plus 2b sub 1 minus 6a sub 2x minus 2b sub 2 equals 0. Just substitute x is equal to 5. So, 6a sub 1 times 5 plus 2b sub 1 minus 6a sub 2 times 5 minus 2b sub 2. That is equal to 0. So, the equation 9 is 30a sub 1 plus 2b sub 1 minus 30a sub 2 minus 2b sub 2 is equal to 0. So, ganito lang yung process ng pagde-derive natin ng mga equation. So, we already have 9 equations na. let's proceed to the 10th equation kasi makakakuha pa tayo ng isa dito kasi nga yung rule is dapat sa step 3 makadalawa kang equations. So, for the other interior point which is 8, -14, so, connected sa kanya yung second and third spline. Equating the second derivative of these cubic splines and substitute x is equal to 8 kasi nga yung given na function or yung point is 8, -14. So, dito, the second derivative of the second spline is equal to the second derivative of the third spline. Okay? So, ang lalabas is ito siya. Tapos, ilipat mo lang itong dalawang to sa kanan, kaya magiging 6a sub 2x plus 2b sub 2 minus 6a sub 3x minus 2b sub 3 is equal to 0. Pag sinalpak nyo yung 8, so magiging 6a sub 2 times 8 plus 2b sub 2 minus 6a sub 3 times 8 minus 2b sub 3 equals 0. So, ang sagot natin is 48a sub 2 plus 2b sub 2 minus 48a sub 3 minus 2b sub 3 is equal to 0. So, we have equation 10. So, nakasampu na tayong equation. Kailangan na lang natin ng dalawa para makumpleto yung 12. So, in this case, dun na tayo sa first step. Itong tandaan. The second derivative of the first and last spline function is assumed to be 0. Ulitin ko, the second derivative of first and last spline function is assumed to be 0. Kaya yung f double prime ng first spline ay 0 and yung f double prime ng last spline ay equals to 0. Yung third spline. Siyempre, ang pag-uusapan natin dito, yung unang endpoint natin, kung doon sa step 2 and step 3, nag-deal tayo sa mga intermediate points. Ngayon, sa step 4, sa endpoint tayo. So, yung unang endpoint is 112. So, this is x, f of x. And syempre, ang nakakonect lang sa unang endpoint class is yung ating first spline. So, kaya nga, equating the second derivative of the first spline into 0, kaya ang kalalabasan, 'di ba? Ito yung ating 'di ba? Kung maalala nyo, ito yung ating first derivative. Second derivative to. Second derivative of the first spline. So, i-equate mo siya equals to 0. And syempre, yung x natin is 1. So, therefore, isalpak mo lang yung x is equal to 1. Our equation 11 is 6a sub 1 plus 2b sub 1 is equal to 0. And for the other endpoint, yung panghuli nating endpoint which is 1037, so i-equate natin yung third o yung second derivative nung pangatlong spline into 0. So, 'di ba, itong function na to is ito yung second derivative nung pangatlong spline natin. If you are going back doon sa ating derivation of the second derivative. Kaya, substitute nyo lang tong x equals 10 kasi 'di ba may x pa dito. So, 6a sub 3 times 10 plus 2b sub 3 is equal to 0 or 60a sub 3 plus 2b sub 3 is equal to 0. So, meron na tayong equation 12. So, sa wakas na kumpleto na natin yung 12 equation na required sa pag-establish ng mga spline function. And mas maganda kapag gagawa ka ng matrix representation nung 12 linear equation na yon. So, ito yung ating 12 equations para hindi kayo malito. Ito yung equation 1, equation 2, equation 3, equation 4, equation 5, equation 6, equation 7, equation 8, equation 9, equation 10, equation 11, and equation 12. So, tapos dito, A1, B1, C1, D1, A2, B2, C2, D2, A3, B3, C3, D3. So, tama ba? Kasi 'di ba yung equation 1 natin is A1 plus B1 plus C1 plus D1 equals 12. Yung second equation is 125A1 plus 25B1 plus 5C1 plus D1 equals negative 26. So, inayos ko lang into matrix representation para naman mas magandang tingnan. So, hindi ko na rin naman kayo ina-expect na isosolve nyo to manually kasi yun pa yung mas matagal na oras, yung pag-manual solution nitong 12 equations, 12 unknown. So, you may just use the Excel format and actually, tinype ko na lang siya. All you need to do is to type the coefficient matrix tapos yung sagot sa B. So, simpleng typing lang naman to. This can be downloaded naman sa Google Classroom natin. So, just type it. And lalabas na dito sa gilid yung sagot. Okay? So, yung x sub 1, syempre A1, A2, A3, A4. A1, B1, C1, D1, A2, B2, C2, D2, A3, B3, C3, D3. So, ito yung mga values natin. And we can check that if we are going to proceed sa next slide natin kasi nandito yung mga sagot. So, move ko lang siya for the purpose of discussion. So, yung nakalagay sa module is using Gauss elimination or Gauss Jordan, pero okay na to since may Excel naman for solving 12 equations, 12 unknown. So, I just want to confirm if tama siya. So, yung A sub 1 is 0.1345 for 19 or 1985 or simply 20 na siya. Yung B is negative 0.4036 25954. So, 260. So, yung C is negative 11.2490458 and yung D is 23.518 1298. Yung A sub 2, ito siya, 0.4834606. Yung B sub 2 is negative 5.6374046. Yung C sub 2 is C sub 2, yes, is 14.9198473. And yung D sub 2 is negative 20.096691. Yung A sub 3 is negative 0.99424748. And yung B sub 3 is 29.8282443. Yung C sub 3 is negative 268.8053435. And yung D sub 3 is 736.5038.168. Ayan. So, na-confirm na natin na yan po yung ating mga sagot. So, therefore, dahil alam na natin yung mga coefficients ng ating cubic spline, substitute mo na lang doon sa ating tatlong function. So, the first spline is ito, 0.1345420x cubed minus 0.4036260x squared minus 11.2490458x plus 23.5181298. So, this is applicable in the range from 1 to 5. The second spline is 0.4834606x cubed minus 5.6374046x squared plus 14.9198473x minus 20.0966921. Yung interval is 5 to 8. The last naman is negative 0.99424748 x cubed plus 29.8282443 x squared minus 268.8053435 x plus 736.5038168. So, ito na yung ating tatlong cubic spline. And take note, ang tanong originally sa problem na to is the value of f of 7. So, syempre, from the given interval, aalamin mo kung saan nagigitna yung 7. And in this case, nandito siya sa second spline kasi 7 is between 5 and 8. So, for the second spline, which is ito siya, dyan mo isa-substitute yung 7 natin. So, therefore, f of 7 is 0.4834606 times 7 cubed minus 5.6374046 7 squared plus 14.9198473 times 7 minus 20.0966921. So, according sa ating interpolation, ang f of 7 is negative 26.063606. So, ito na yung ating interpolated value. So, the graphical illustration is shown. So, ang kagandahan dito sa cubic spline, kaya nga to sinasabi as one of the most accurate method of interpolation kasi smooth talaga yung kurbada niya. Saka itong unang spline is actually a third degree curve. Unlike doon sa quadratic spline nung nag-compute tayo, nung nag-compute tayo is ito straight line, pero ngayon smooth na siya, 'di ba? So para siyang smooth curve na lang. So I hope malinaw itong discussion natin regarding sa cubic spline. So hoping ako na may natutunan kayo, although mahaba-haba talaga itong discussion. So wag kang mag-alala, the next video will be an alternative and shortcut method for performing cubic spline interpolation. So, thank you so much for watching guys, and ingat!